So gas is sitting at $3.98 here in Florida. And I only know that because I drove past a gas station I used to stop at all the time when I had my Jeep Gladiator, and I had to do a double take, because I generally can't remember the last time I stopped at a gas station. And that's not a flex. It's actually one of the weirdest things about owning an electric vehicle like a Tesla, because it's not about how you fuel the car or how you charge the car. It's about the little habits that start to change that you didn't even know you had. And little by little, the way you interact with the car starts to shift. And the funny thing is that none of this feels overly dramatic, but when you go back to a gas car, even for one day like we did, where we had to travel and rented a gas car, well, you realize how different it really is. So in this video, I'm gonna go over some of the habits that quietly develop when you own an electric vehicle like a Tesla, and the ones that totally make sense, and the ones that don't make sense, especially if you only drive a gas car. The question I get from most people that don't own an electric vehicle or even a Tesla is, well, where do you charge? And the honest answer is nowhere. You plug in at home and you wake up with a full charge the next day, and that's kind of it for 90% of your drives. It's such a simple swap, but it does rewire how you think about refueling. Gas cars pull you into a station, you run low, you go get it. An EV just tops off while you're sleeping. And the first time you realize you haven't stopped at a gas station in weeks, months, or in my case, years at this point, unless I have to use the bathroom or buy a drink, well, it's this little quiet moment that kind of makes you feel, oh, this is what electric vehicle owners or Tesla owners are talking about. Florida is sitting at $3.98 a gallon, but nationwide it's closer to $4.29. And honestly, when I drove past that station, I did the mental math, not obsessively, but it does cross your mind. But the home charging thing is just the beginning. Once that habit settles in, a bunch of other habits start to actually follow. Gas cars don't have an app, or if they do have an app, you don't check it very frequently, maybe once or twice. Maybe you remote start the engine from a distance if you're in a cold area, or simply you want to turn the AC after you turn the engine on. But that's pretty much it. With Tesla, the app becomes something you actually open, not constantly, but fairly regularly. You check the battery percentage, you pre-cool down the cabin before you even walk out. You glance at your car status from your couch, from your shower, or when you're doing your business. For the first few months, it feels like you're dealing with the future. You're tapping in, you're checking the percentages, you're doing all these things, but after a couple of weeks or even months, it just becomes normal, part of your daily routine, kind of like checking the weather app before you walk outside. And the funny part is that when anybody tries to borrow your car and they've never driven an electric vehicle, they turn around and they ask you, wait, how do I open the car? How do I turn it on? And you just hold up your phone to let them know, well, you're gonna have to download the app so I can give you access, or I can give you my key card, which is very different than somebody who hands you their car keys to access your car or to simply drive it. The app leads directly into another habit that feels a little bit weird until you experience it. Preconditioning. People always ask me, how much do I pay to charge the car? And my last bill went up by $40 a month. That's it. And at $3.98, I would have been spending around $180 to $200 if I was driving a gas car. Okay, this one's hard to explain to someone who's never done it. The idea is that you tell the car to cool down the cabin from your phone before you even walk outside. Now, this particular feature is not only cooling down the cabin, but it's also preconditioning the battery. Now, by doing this, you're actually extending the battery life. Therefore, you're extending the performance of your electric vehicle for a very long time. So instead of opening the door and getting hit with a wall of 100 degrees, you're walking into a very comfortable 69 degrees. In places like Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, and even Virginia, where the summers are very hot and humid, this feature is not just a nice to have, but it's essential. Because the alternative is to walk into your car, sit in your own sweat until the AC catches up to your 69 degrees. And it's one of those habits that happen gradually over time. You do it sometimes, but once you remember, you do it all the time. Or if you're advanced, you start scheduling your preconditioning from the app or the touchscreen so you actually come in to a nice, cool car every single time. Now, once you're inside the car, there is actually one habit that takes a little bit longer to develop, but once it clicks, it changes completely how you drive. And if this is the real ownership stuff you want to see more of, subscribing to the channel helps the channel bring you more content like this. Okay, let's get back into the video. Regenerative braking is one of those things that sounds really technical, but the experience of it actually is very simple. And some people actually compare it to driving a golf cart. You push on the accelerator, and as soon as you start letting off, it starts to slow down and maybe stop. Some golf carts don't even stop at all. You have to hit the brakes. Electric cars, like a Tesla, is slightly similar, but not exactly the same. When you lift off your foot off the accelerator on a Tesla, the car gradually starts to slow down and eventually does come to a complete stop. It doesn't stop automatically. So in other words, if I start driving towards a stop sign and I let go of the accelerator at the stop sign, the car doesn't automatically stop at the stop sign. It will gradually slow down. So you have to kind of account for the distance for it to kind of come to a complete stop by the time you get to that stop sign. Eventually, you may have to tap on the brake if it goes a little further than that, but eventually it does stop. And this is very helpful, especially if you're in stop and go traffic. You don't constantly have to let go of the accelerator and slam on the brakes. You can just start letting off the accelerator to make the car gradually slow down and eventually stop. Now, at first, it's going to feel a little bit unnatural. You start reaching for that brake pedal as soon as you let off the accelerator. But after a few days, your brain starts to adapt and you start to flow through traffic with one input instead of two. It actually makes stop and go traffic less exhausting. And if you've ever been stuck on I-4 traffic here in Florida, you know why this matters. And then there's the one habit I didn't expect at all. The one that involves you walking away from your car and just not caring. This one always gets reactions when I tell people, or if somebody's traveling with me and they have never been in a Tesla. As soon as we park and get out of the car, somebody inevitably will tell me, hey, you forgot to lock the car. But it's not because I'm careless, it's because the car does it automatically. And once you get far enough from the car, or not you, but the app or your phone gets far enough from the car assumes you want the car locked. So it just does it automatically for you. And that freaks people out sometimes because they don't realize you don't need a clicker. There's no tap on something. I mean, I could do it manually if I really wanted to, but I don't have to. And it's one of those mental things that you just no longer keep in your brain that you have to do when you walk away from your car. You simply just park, you walk away, and you just don't think about it. And you don't even realize how much mental bandwidth locking your car actually takes until it's gone. And the moment hits you when you rent a car or you borrow a family's car and you're halfway through the parking lot and then you get a panic attack and you think to yourself, did I lock the car? Did I lock it? Inevitably walk back to the car and you start clicking to make sure you hear the honk and you hear the car actually lock. So yeah, that habit is there now. Does that auto lock give you some relief, or does it low-key still freak you out? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to know, for those of you who have recently purchased a Tesla, is that still the case? Or are you past it already? Let me know. This isn't perfect, but it's real. None of this means that Tesla ownership is flawless. It's definitely not perfect. Road trips still require planning and routing, and software updates, well, they change things that you get used to. The first week of ownership, the learning curve can feel a little bit weird. But what surprised me most about Tesla ownership wasn't the technology. It was how quickly habits change. The way you fuel, or in this case, the way you charge the car, the way you prep before you drive, and the way that it just kind of disappears into your daily routine. With gas where it is, almost at $4 here in Florida, and almost $4.50 in other parts of the country, yeah, the cost side makes sense. But honestly, it's the habits that make it feel like the right move. Not the price, but the lifestyle. Now, if you're early in this process, or you're still on the fence about electric car ownership or Tesla ownership, there's one moment during the first week of ownership that I didn't see coming. And it's probably the thing that sealed the deal for me. And that video is right here.